Hello, I have a minute of the footage that was lost from the Epstein prison camera, and here's what it captured. Just kidding, so that I don't get shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. For the sake of this video, we'll just go ahead and say that Jeffrey Epstein did kill himself. The prison cameras outside of his jail cell just happened to go out right around the time he died, and the guards who were supposed to be checking on him magically fell asleep and weren't able to account for what happened for over 8 hours. And the guy who so publicly claimed to have dirt on the world's most powerful people just died. There's no conspiracy here whatsoever. But I'm not even going to comment on Epstein's death. That's been so heavily touched on, and honestly, I can make a series on that in and of itself. What I am going to touch on is the fact that after researching Epstein for weeks, I've come to an evidence-backed conclusion that Jeffrey Edward Epstein was a member of the CIA. What exactly makes me think this? First of all, has anyone in the audience heard of Robert Maxwell? No? Perhaps you'll recognize the name of his daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's wife. And Robert Maxwell was quite an interesting man. After fighting in World War II against the Germans, Robert Maxwell made several military and intelligence contacts, eventually starting up some businesses himself, including a publishing empire. Maxwell, like Epstein, had a flair for dealing with millions and a reputation for turning failing businesses around. Unfortunately, by 1990, Maxwell was discovered to have stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from pension funds owned by the people at his companies. Furthermore, according to a former Israeli intelligence officer, Ari Ben Menashe, as well as two journalists, Gordon Thomas and Martin Dillon, who dedicated their entire careers to monitoring the activities of intelligence agencies, Robert Maxwell was a well-known Mossad operative. Now, oftentimes, intelligence agencies will employ the same people. For example, if someone is a CIA operative as well as a Mossad operative, if that person gets into a hairy situation, both agencies can maintain what's called plausible deniability. There's no telling which agency that person was working for when they did the dirty deed. And CIA files have shown Robert Maxwell to be, quote, an informal collaborator, meaning, at the very least, at times, Robert Maxwell provided the CIA with valuable information. But Robert Maxwell must have accomplished a whole lot more than sneaking off with hundreds of millions of dollars. At his funeral, which we'll get to the juicy details behind how he came to have a funeral in a minute, 6 serving or former heads of Israeli intelligence were present. And Israel's acting president stated at Maxwell's funeral that he had done more for the state of Israel than can be said today. According to Mossad whistleblower Ari Ben Munch, some of Maxwell's feats include stealing an enhanced U.S. intelligence software and using them to spy on its users, including banks and governments worldwide. Second, helping the Mossad uncover the identity of a whistleblower, Mordecai Venuto, who exposed Israel's nuclear weapons program, which led to Mordecai's arrest by Mossad agents. And additionally, Maxwell poured hundreds of millions of dollars into Israeli investment firms, bolstering the young nation's innovation. But inevitably, Robert Maxwell made enemies. The fortune, some say up to $1 billion, that the Mossad/CIA double agent stole from pensioners vanished. There's a rumor that Maxwell blackmailed the Mossad, threatening to expose some of their darker secrets unless they helped him escape the financial and legal trouble that was now coming as a result of his Ponzi scheme. But conveniently, as the official story goes, one day while sailing on his yacht, 68-year-old Robert Maxwell yeeted himself into the ocean and died of unknown causes right around the time he blackmailed this intelligence agency. 3 coroners looked over the billionaire's body, which was 20 miles away from the yacht by the time his disappearance was noticed, and there were a few oddities. There was no water in Robert Maxwell's lungs, meaning he didn't drown or suffocate. Something else had to have killed him. Maxwell also had a gash on his side, which coroners debated was either a gunshot graze or an injury from Maxwell falling overboard. And if Maxwell fell overboard, why didn't anyone on the small yacht see it or hear it? Maxwell was 308 pounds, and yet no one even heard a splash in the water as he allegedly fell overboard. No official cause of death could be agreed upon, but the coroners settled on the fact that the billionaire had a heart attack. Okay, so you're asking what all of this has to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, according to REJ, the former Israeli intelligence official, Epstein was also an intelligence asset. And quick side note, this checks out. In 2008, after the former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida discovered that Epstein had allegedly solicited sex from 30 underage victims, some as young as 14, Epstein was let off with a slap on the wrist. In 2017, when Alexander Acosta, the U.S. attorney who basically all but pardoned Epstein, was vetted for the Department of Labor, he was asked why he was so lenient on Epstein. Acosta reportedly told the transition officials that he was instructed to back off of Jeffrey Epstein because Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone because it was above his pay grade. So let's step back for a sec. We've established that Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner, had a father that was a sort of CIA Mossad double operative, one who used his business connections to spy on foreign governments and banks. And we've also established that he stole millions of dollars, which just vanished into thin air. And now, all of a sudden, Jeffrey Epstein comes onto the scene with wealth that no one can account for and ties to some of the most influential people on earth. Well, according to ex-Mossad operatives, Epstein was an intelligence operative who was using his wealth and the solicitation of young women to put wealthy and powerful people in compromising situations. And once they were compromised, these people would basically be slaves to whatever intelligence agency Epstein worked for. In the intelligence community, this is known as a honey trap. Does this all sound a little too far-fetched? Well, let's hear from someone who actually met Epstein.
And my take on it instantly was, this is not an actual human. This is a construct of someone's. Someone has created a fake human being called Jeffrey Epstein, who's a mysterious currency trading financier with crazy rules so that no one would ever invest with him. And I think that was to keep people from seeking his investment services. He's labeled disgraced financier, but nobody has a record of trading with him.
Not something that could be done by a simple mind.
You think he did it?
Oh, he has a team of manipulators?
No, when I say I think he was a construct, I literally mean that. I think he was constructed, like fitted with a story.
Oh, so you think he was a plant?
No, I think he was a construct.
What's that? Okay, you're going to have to dig into.
I think Jeffrey Epstein, super genius financier, was not a thing that existed. Where did the money come from? You're going to mumble Lex Wexner? Okay, so that's what you mumble. But then, there's this missing fortune of Robert Maxwell and this fortune of Jeffrey Epstein that we can't explain. Are those the same fortune? It's like a conservation of money principle, that if you have a fortune that's missing and you have a fortune that can't be explained and they're connected by Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't know.
So when you say a construct, who constructs? Who's the builder?
I don't know. I would imagine some version of the intelligence community. Sometimes somebody's cover gets blown. We have a very famous, unfortunate story of Eli Cohen with the Mossad, where Eli Cohen was an Egyptian Jew who was fitted with a backstory that he was an Argentinian playboy who'd made a fortune in Argentina, but was Arabic in origin. And then he moves to Damascus and he takes out an apartment where he holds orgies and becomes the best friend of Hafez al-Assad, right? And so that's an example of a story we know. We know how the intelligence communities of the world create people who don't really exist.
So Eric Weinstein actually fit a lot of the pieces together here for us. It's likely that the fortune that Epstein had was the one that Robert Maxwell had extorted. It's likely that Epstein, like Eli Cohen, who I also plan to cover on this channel, describe, is an intelligence asset. And what's even more scary, it's likely that the elites of this world are beholden to intelligence agencies who use and employ psychopaths to further their purposes. Here's the question I'll send you all off to bed with. How many Jeffrey Epsteins are out there?